The world is in crisis. I want to go over a lot of this data, especially now that we got this CPI inflation report. And it came in hot with numbers worse than expected. And this at a time when the global economy is struggling to survive. Consumer confidence in the US, and in some cases all across the world, is at its worst slump ever. So this is big time bad news. We can see here, US consumer confidence falls by more than forecast in August. It fell the most in 2 years as soaring views on the labor market, higher borrowing costs, and lingering inflation curbed optimism. The Conference Board's index fell to 106.1 this month from 114 in July. Consumer prices were once again preoccupied with rising prices in general, and for groceries and gasoline in particular. Though economists have been pushing out their recession forecasts on renewed economic momentum, many are still anticipating a downturn next year as consumers show signs of damn, that's a tongue twister, of weakness under the surface. Many Americans are turning to credit cards to make ends meet, while others are cutting back on spending altogether. I want to touch on this. Dude, I implore you to not turn to credit cards. You're going to dig yourself into a hole. You need to downgrade your expenses and pay off your credit card debt so you can build wealth. Living off a credit card debt is the worst that you can do for yourself. You need to live by the rule. If you can't afford it, don't buy it, right? Like, for example, if you can't afford to change the brakes on your car, then maybe you should use your car less over the next 12 months. Go as far as cutting your trips to convenience stores and supermarkets, right? You get less usage on your car, you spend less in gasoline, you get more time to work on other things. Simply just cut back. Do whatever it takes to cut your expenses. But going back to this, we got the same confidence story all over the world. Australian consumer confidence in worst sustained slump on record. Euro area confidence at -16 in August. Coming back to the US, the Rasmussen report says September is even lower than August. Here we can see the University of Michigan Consumer Sentiment Survey. This is shown in blue against advanced retail sales. This is a year-over-year rate of change. What we know is that as consumer confidence comes down, you can see there as the blue line comes down, and then what happens? Retail sales slows down. Here you have during the financial crisis, confidence just took a nosedive, and shortly thereafter, retail sales went kaputs, or rather kerplunk, like that old game with the marbles. And just because confidence can build doesn't mean it's going to be sustained. Retail sales will always go lower, right? If consumers just don't want to buy, they're not buying. And this mirrors what we're seeing across the globe and especially in China. Remember, the entire world is affected by this global crisis. And China is facing a crisis because the rest of the world is in a crisis. And their domestic consumption isn't strong enough to pull themselves up, let alone the rest of the world.